Mark Levin here. After any presidential election, I take time to reevaluate my own financial investments. That's why I continue to invest in gold for help with my financial protection. When it comes to gold, I only trust Advantage Gold. They're a top gold company in America, and that's who I turn to for my own gold purchases. Call them now at 800-900-8000. That's 800-900-8000 for a free gold investment kit. And see if you qualify for up to $1,000 in free silver. That's 800-900-8000. And tell them Mark Levin sent you. Performance may vary. You should always consult your financial and tax professional.
He's here. He's here. Now, broadcasting from the underground command post, deep in the bowels of a hidden bunker, somewhere under the brick and steel of a nondescript building, we've once again made contact with our leader, Mark Levin.
Welcome. It is the Mark Levin Show. Ben Ferguson filling in for the great one. And we have an awful lot to talk about when it comes to terrorist attacks in this country. We know a lot more than we knew yesterday. And I want to start this show by stating something that I don't take lightly. And that is that I am calling for people to be fired for clearly not doing their job the right way. I am held to a higher level of bare minimum requirements as I do this show than apparently we are holding people whose job it is to protect American citizens from terrorist attacks. I am held to a higher standard in jobs that I had when I was 16 years old, and would have been fired from those jobs when I was 16 years old for not doing basic things, for example, like locking the door to the store after I ended the shift working when I was 16 years old. Then we are holding those accountable whose entire job it is to keep and protect us from terrorist attacks. Now, I said a moment ago that I'm going to start, and I don't think it's fair. Many times in life, people, when they don't like someone, they want them fired. They don't like a person, so they try to get them fired. That's not what I'm calling for on this show. What I am saying is, when you come out and you are the FBI, and you are the first person that the United States of America sees, and in fact, you are also the first person that is heard from if you are a terrorist anywhere in the world. And you come out and you say to the world that what we just witnessed in New Orleans is in fact not a terrorist attack, you deserve to be fired from your job because you are not a serious person. You are not someone that should be in charge. What is the most shocking part of everything that happened in New Orleans is the fact that when the FBI went in front of a microphone, they told the American people and the terrorists that what we just witnessed was, in fact, not a terrorist attack. I am going to play this for you. I want to be clear. I don't even remember this woman's name. I don't care. What I do know is this woman should be fired, and anyone in the chain of command around her that told her that it was acceptable to walk out there at 6:41 in New Orleans Central Time on the day of the attack and to utter these completely incompetent words.
Not a terrorist event. What it is right now is their improvised explosive devices that was found, and we are working on confirming if it's a viable device or not. As Chief Kirkpatrick said, we're asking everyone to stay away from Bourbon Street, specifically from Canal Street to St. Anne. That is my ask. Once again, stay away from Bourbon Street, Canal Street, all the way to St. Anne until we can figure out what is going on. Our goal...
I can tell you this much. The fact that she says at the beginning this was not a terrorist attack, number one, she deserves to be fired from her job. And anyone that gave her those notes to say deserves to be fired from their job at the FBI. And then she says at the end, which sums it up perfectly, and please stay away from these areas until we figure out what's going on. What is the FBI now saying? The FBI is now saying that this New Orleans attack not only was a terrorist attack, which is the complete opposite of what the FBI told the world and terrorists around the world hours after this attack took place. But what we also learned in this moment is she said, until we, quote, figure out what's going on. I believe her in that statement. I think it's pretty clear from her first statement that this was not a terrorist attack, that she has no idea what the hell she is doing and has no idea what the hell is going on. You want to know something else that's even more shocking than that? Egregious line. Maybe not more shocking, but as shocking. You may not know this, but the media showed up at the home of this attacker who attacked in New Orleans in Houston before the FBI showed up. How do we know this? It's a fair question to ask. I'll tell you exactly how we know it. Because the media was tweeting about the fact that they were there at the home of the attacker in Houston, his residence where he lived, for hours before the FBI even showed up. I'm going to read for you what was said by one of those reporters, Cheney. Quote, the FBI didn't show up at the NOLA suspect's address until 1 p.m. today. We were on scene before. No one came out of the home or answered the door. This, and it was her response to the FBI putting out a tweet saying this. The FBI Houston and the Harris County Sheriff's Office are currently conducting law enforcement activities near the intersection of Hugh Road and Crescent Peak Drive in North Houston. We have secured a perimeter in that area and are asking people to avoid the area. FBI Houston personnel and specialized teams will be on site for several hours. This activity is related to this morning's New Orleans attack, but due to the ongoing nature of the investigation, no further information can be provided. So to be clear, not only did the FBI get it wrong when they had their very first moment to address ISIS, any other terrorists around the world, and the American people saying this is not a terrorist attack in New Orleans, but then the media was able to go to the home where this man lived in Houston hours before the FBI arrived.
Not a terrorist event.
This was not a terrorist event. That is what the FBI said to you first.
This is not a terrorist event.
This is not a terrorist event. This is not. We're coming out on TV right now, and we are telling the world, and we're telling you, the American people, we are lying to your face. Either, and there's two ways to look at this, and this is the reason why I'm saying this woman and anyone else that gave her the words to say should be fired, because they were lying to you, or they're the most incompetent DEI hires I've ever seen in my entire life.
Not a terrorist event.
Was not a terrorist event. I am beating a dead horse because after everyone knew that this was a terrorist event, and now they're saying that this individual was 100% inspired by ISIS, you don't get redos with human lives.
This is not a terrorist event.
This is not a terrorist event. That is the FBI. Now, let me be clear about where the FBI has been spending their money, because I think facts matter. And in fact, before I get to that, this woman came out and said this as she knew that an ISIS flag was in the truck or on the back of the truck. And what did the FBI say at their first press conference 3 hours later? 3 hours later. This is not a terrorist event. The media, you think that they tell you the truth, or do you think they try to manipulate you? They tried to manipulate Americans, by the way, into thinking the Cybertruck battery just exploded in front of the hotel at Trump Tower, or at Trump Hotel in Vegas, I should say. And I'm going to deal with that in a minute. But we are not idiots. They want you to be an idiot. They want you to be a moron. They want to be able to lie to you. They want you to see a terrorist attack, and they want you to believe that it was not a terrorist attack. Let's go to the second person that I'm calling to be fired. I don't know if they're a Republican, I don't know if they're a Democrat, and I don't give a rat's ass. what party they are in. Whoever made the decision, and it was a deadly decision, to have the hydraulic barriers that are normally up be out of commission on New Year's Eve, on the eve of a bowl game in New Orleans to, quote, get them ready for the Super Bowl, should also be fired. I don't know if I'm calling for a Republican or a Democrat to be fired, because I don't care. Because when your job is to protect innocent people, and we pay way too much money, we pay way too many damn taxes to have incompetent screw-ups like this. And I want you to understand something about what I'm saying here. And I want you to understand it very clearly. I am not asking for some unbelievable ability to be everywhere at every moment, at every day, and to stop every terrorist attack in advance. That is not the bar that I'm asking for here. The bar I'm asking for is an incredibly low bar, a low standard of just competency. On New Year's Eve, where there are live broadcasts coming on CNN and other networks in New Orleans on Bourbon Street, that you know has been a target of terrorists and been on their list in the past, to the point where you even knew that you needed to install these hydraulic lifts to be able to protect people, these hydraulic barriers to protect people from exactly this crime, which, by the way, has been committed all over the world. We've witnessed it all over the world. We have witnessed terrorists take a car in an attack that is a very simplistic attack. It is not hijacking airplanes and learning to fly planes and flying them in the buildings like they did on 9/11. This is just taking a car. It could be your car, a rental car. It could be a stolen car, and ramming it into people. We've seen this happen by crazies that weren't even connected to ISIS or Al-Qaeda or inspired by ISIS. We have seen this happen at Christmas parades, at markets. We have seen this happen all over, not just the United States of America, but all over the world. That's why they put in the damn barrier. And someone decided that on New Year's Eve, of all the times of the year, that they should be under, quote, maintenance, getting them ready for another possible a terrorist attack event, the Super Bowl, that you have them not up but down on New Year's Eve. Whoever the hell is involved in that decision should be fired, because I am not running a mental institution with my tax dollars. I am not running a country with my tax dollars that is paying for people to be this stupid. So let's go back to what we know now. After I've told you the bare minimum for me are these people being fired. Not only did the FBI get it wrong, but the FBI New Orleans attacker, they are now saying, was, quote, 100% inspired by ISIS. So how did they get it so wrong at the beginning? Or was this just a deliberate lie to every single American because they didn't want this to be a Muslim or ISIS issue?
This is not a terrorist event.
This is not a terrorist event. Now the same damn people are saying that the New Orleans attacker was 100% inspired by ISIS. Hell, it's the headline on CNN right now. I am looking at CNN, and it says barricades, added security in place as border streets reopen. So we've got barriers now, but we decided on New Year's Eve, on the eve of a bowl game, no, we don't need barriers. We're going to fix them. Let's just talk about incompetence on that and more reasons why these people, whoever made that decision, should be fired. There's 365 days in a year, folks. There's 365 days in a year. You're telling me that the weekend that you choose to make sure that you're having maintenance on barriers is New Year's Eve and on the eve of a bowl game in New Orleans, and you want me to believe that you should keep your job? I am not stupid enough to think that you deserve to keep your job. You deserve to be fired. And if you watch a terrorist attack take place and you work for the FBI. You work for the FBI, folks. You work for the FBI. And you come out 4 hours after the attack, 5 hours after the attack, 10 hours after the attack, and you say to the American people that this is not an act of terror, this is not a terrorist attack, you clearly cannot handle the job.
This is not a terrorist event.
You should be fired. Which brings me back to my original point. When I was 16 years old, I had the keys to a business. And if I didn't lock the damn door to that business, I would be fired the next day. Why am I at 16 years old when there's no one's life at risk, held to a higher standard than this dumb FBI agent in New Orleans who stands in front of the world and says to the terrorists, this is not an act of terrorism. This is not a terrorist attack when everybody knows it is. So there's one of two options here. Either she's incompetent and should be fired, or she was deliberately trying to cover up a terrorist act and lie to the American people, which is another reason why she should be fired. Ben Ferguson, filling in for the great one, Mark Levin. We'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
Did you see what the Federal Reserve did literally days after President Trump's victory? It's lowered interest rates by a quarter. Do you know why it did that? It's worried about the economy. It's worried about the fact that jobs aren't being created. We're seeing all kinds of shifts in our portfolios, and it's important to stay aware. That's why I'm urging everyone to diversify and consider gold as one of your financial shields. Now, gold has weathered every kind of economic downturn throughout history. I want you to call Advantage Gold. They're the best of the best, folks. I've dealt with all of them. They're the best. They're my gold company. 1-800-900-8000. Get a free gold investment kit to see how you can get started with gold. I recommend Advantage Gold to anyone who's serious about protecting their wealth, and that's you. Call 800-900-8000 for your free gold investment kit, and you could even qualify for up to $1,000 in free silver. That's 800-900-8000. Call them now. Tell them Mark Levin sent you. You'll be very happy with them. Performance may vary. You should always consult your financial and tax professional.
All right, welcome back. It is the Mark Levin Show. Ben Ferguson filling in for the great one. And I want to get to some of your phone calls tonight. 1-877-381-3811. 1-877-381-3811. Let me also just add somebody else to the list that should be fired. And I don't expect Bezos to fire the person that wrote this, but I do think that the readers should fire the Washington Post. And if you picked up a copy of the Washington Post today, you know exactly what I'm talking about. The Washington Post has a headline wanting to tell us that a random truck, drove into the New Orleans crowd all by itself. Now, why would I say such a stupid thing? Because I read their stupid headline. The Washington Post headline this morning read, truck rams New Orleans crowd. Let me read that again for you. Truck rams New Orleans crowd. They think we're this stupid, folks. Ben Ferguson filling in for the great one. More coming up.
The markets are volatile. They're shooting up wildly only to drop without warning. The Fed just cut rates yet again, this time by a quarter point. Why? Because the Federal Reserve is not confident the economy is strong. In fact, last month only 12,000 jobs were created, all of them in the government. That's why I'm telling you again, diversification is crucially important. And diversification with gold is what I do. And the company I use, and I've used many, the best one is Advantage Gold. Call them now at 800-900-8000 for a free gold investment kit to see how gold can help you diversify your investments and take advantage now. Now, gold has been helping to protect and grow wealth for people for thousands of years. And in these times, it can be more crucial than ever. When it comes to gold, I trust Advantage Gold. They're one of the top gold companies in America. They're who I turn to when I purchase gold. Call them now, 800-900-8000. Call 800-900-8000 now for a free gold investment kit to see how gold can help you with your investment portfolio, a.k.a. your bank accounts, your paycheck. And when you do, you could qualify for $1,000 in free silver. That's 800-900-8000. Folks, don't wait. Call them now, 800-900-8000, and tell them Mark Levin sent you. Performance may vary. You should always consult your financial and tax professional.
Mark Levin, the champion of liberty and true conservatism. Call Mark now, 877-381-3811.
All right, welcome back. It is the Mark Levin Show. Ben Ferguson filling in for the great one. By the way, all the audio and the commentary will be in the podcast, Mark Levin's podcast. Also, my podcast. You can grab the Ben Ferguson podcast wherever you get your podcasts. I'll have it all in there for you. I want to go back to what I said about it's time that people be held accountable and fired when they can't do their job when it comes to protecting and defending us. I'll give you another example. The Washington Times, or I should say, excuse me, the Washington Post headlines read, "Truck rams New Orleans crowd." Translation, Washington Post is telling us that a random truck apparently drove by itself with no one in it into the New Orleans crowd all by itself. That's what they want you to believe. Because they don't want you to believe that this could be a screw up by the government or open border or us being stretched too thin or DEI initiatives. No. You know, a moment ago, I also called for the people that decided to have the barriers down on New Year's Eve, the eve of a bowl game, to be fired. Guess what? We've just gotten word from New Orleans. The barriers are up. 24 hours later, they're up right now. So why the hell couldn't they have been up on New Year's Eve? Do you understand the incompetence level that you have to think that the barriers shouldn't be up on New Year's Eve? The FBI has released these new images of New Orleans attacker in a cooler containing an explosive device. This is the same FBI that told you that this was not a terrorist attack, who's now telling you not 100% ISIS inspired. This attack is 100% ISIS inspired, and we've got explosives in a cooler.
Not a terrorist event. This is not a terrorist event.
This is not a terrorist event. That woman should be fired. But at least she looked good while she was saying the lies to you, the American people. She had her nose ring in, looking fancy. You want to know why things like this happen? Let's dive into that for a second. Here's info that you're going to need to know. And it's going to support why I'm saying that people need to be fired. There is a new bombshell investigation that has come out. This will probably be the first time any of you have heard this. Grab your pen and paper, start taking notes, or download the podcast and share this with your friends. It has come out now that more than $100 million in grant funding from the Biden Department of Justice went towards promoting, quote, restorative justice, DEI, that's diversity, equity, and inclusion, and social emotional learning in classrooms. So instead of actually hunting down homegrown terrorists or foreign terrorists or the terrorists coming across our southern border, we spent $100 million of our dollars. Remember, this is not their money. This is our money. We pay taxes, and then they are spending our money. They spent $100 million in grants funding the Biden Department of Justice, restorative justice, DEI, and social emotional learnings in classrooms project. The total DOJ grant money awarded from 2021 to present is more than $100 million. The total number of Department of Justice grants is 102. So divide 102 by 100 million, you're getting about $1 million a piece out at a time. The number of states that got the money, 36. The number of K through 12 school districts that receive this money instead of actually going after terrorists, 946. The number of K through 12 students that they were trying to indoctrinate, and this is how they're spending your money, to indoctrinate Americans to hate this country, our kids to hate this country, our kids to think that the only way to be honest or truthful is if you have diversity, equity, and inclusion and all this kumbaya BS that literally is costing people's lives. The number of children they were able to indoctrinate with 100 million, 3.25 million students. 3.25 million students. That is where your money's been going. They're not trying to fight terrorists. Department of Justice is spending $100 million to push DEI and restorative justice in the classrooms to make kids believe that America is evil and that you shouldn't actually be able to make it on your own. No. We've got to socially promote people based on the color of their skin, based on equity and inclusion and all this other crap where we say white men are evil, and if you're a minority, you deserve to get a job. Not the best candidate for the job. No. We're going to have people that are in charge of the FBI that fit a stereotype of what we think inclusivity is, and maybe on a Tuesday, it's a African-American woman with a nose ring who walks out and after she witnesses a terrorist attack, tells you, the American people, that what you just saw, which was a terrorist attack, is somehow not a terrorist attack.
This is not a terrorist event. What it is right now is their improvised explosive devices that was found, and we are working on confirming if it's a viable device or not. As Chief Kirkpatrick said, we're asking everyone to stay away from Bourbon Street, specifically from Canal Street to St. Anne. That is my ask. Once again, stay away from Bourbon Street, Canal Street, all the way to St. Anne until we can figure out what is going on. Our goal is to provide you additional information at the 11 a.m. press conference. Thank you.
We don't know what's going on. Until we figure out what's going on, we're going to lie to your face and cover up a terrorist attack and tell you that when you witness a terrorist attack, the FBI says it's not a terrorist attack. So, again, either they're deliberately lying to you and trying to cover it up, or this woman is actually this stupid. Either way, she should be fired, and anyone that gave her those talking points should be fired. Let's also talk about another problem because of these two different terrorist attacks. And by the way, we have another random event that has just taken place. We do not know if this is a terrorist attack yet or if it is just a plane that has crashed. But as I'm speaking to you now, we're getting word that a small plane has crashed in California, resulting in a 4-alarm fire. This coming out of Fullerton, California. From KABC News, a small plane crashed in Fullerton, resulting in a 4-alarm fire and triggering a massive response from firefighters and police, authorities have confirmed. The crash was reported about 2 o'clock in the afternoon, California time, in the 2300 block of West Rainier Avenue. A massive plume of thick black smoke rose into the air above the scene. The number of possible injuries not known. It was a major industrial complex where this plane crashed. That is what we do know. I'm sure the FBI will come out soon and tell me that that is not a plane crash, even though it was a plane crash. Now let's talk about, while you're doing all this DEI crap, what's actually happening in the world. You want to know how DEI, by the way, failed New Orleans? The city chose not to raise the hydraulic steel barriers, but now they're up today. That would have saved lives. But they will tell you that they're all about DEI. How do we know that they're all about DEI? How do we really honestly know that they love DEI there? Well, there is a tweet from the FBI New Orleans telling us exactly that. FBI New Orleans, and this was from the summer on 6/8 of 2024. Hashtag FBI New Orleans is holding a diversity agent recruiting event, and we want to meet you. Agents and FBI executives will provide firsthand information about a rewarding career. Apply now to see if you qualify for the July 17th event in Louisiana with a link to get involved. Maybe if you weren't spending so much damn money and time trying to choose people based on the color of their skin or if they're gay or trans or, I was going to say straight, but I don't think that's part of equity and inclusion anymore, and making sure they're not white, maybe you would have done a better job. Maybe you would have done a better job of stopping the attacks. Maybe you would have done a better job than having idiots go on TV and tell the American people that that the attack in New Orleans was not a terrorist attack. Maybe you'd be able to get to the scene of where the person who did that attack lived in Houston faster than you did before the media got there multiple hours before you did. By the way, I love law enforcement. I want to be clear. But what I don't love is when you have incompetent people that are in charge of it who are then costing people their lives because they're sending out dumb tweets like FBI New Orleans where they say, we're holding a diversity agent recruitment event. What that means in translation, we're not actually looking for the best people. We are looking for the most diversified group of people that we can employ. That's like playing Russian roulette with my safety and my security. To be clear, if the most competent people to be in the FBI are all Asian, I don't care as long as I'm safe. If they're all black, I don't care as long as I'm safe. If they're all women, I don't care as long as I'm safe. If they're all men, I don't care as long as I'm safe. And my kids are safe. And the people on Bourbon Street are safe. This is where we as Americans, again, we're the ones that pay the bills. We should demand more from our government, and we should demand that people are fired when they don't hire the best people to keep us safe with national security. We should demand that these people never work in these positions of power and never get there ever again. But what has been happening for the last 4 years and 8 years under Obama, and many years actually while Trump was in office, because there were these the only way I know how to describe it is there were these liberal rats in our government that were recruiting incompetent people solely based on the color of their skin or their sexual orientation instead of actually finding out if they were right for the job. And I don't have to guess on that. I can read the FBI New Orleans tweet. FBI New Orleans is holding a diversity agent recruitment event, and we want to meet you. Not if you're good at the job, but if you are a black dude that says I'm a woman who has had a boob job, we'd love to hire you. That's what they're sending out this tweet looking for. If you're a gay man who's anti-gun, you fit a great... We'd love to hire you at the FBI. They weren't looking for the best, folks, and now you understand why we had this attack. They weren't looking for the best. They were looking for a kumbaya quota, and it cost people their lives. And the proof that the damn barriers worked the day this attack happened is the fact that they're up and running today. They should have been up on New Year's Eve, and they weren't. Why? Because of somebody who's either incompetent or somebody that had no problem with knowing that this could actually happen. That is the truth. I know people aren't going to like me saying it. That is the truth. When you have an FBI agent that's either so dumb or lying to you, so manipulative that she tells you a terrorist attack is not a terrorist attack, you deserve to lose your job. And when you sit there, and I go back to the newspapers, because all of this comes together and all of this is important that people understand this. A lot of this is not just misinformation. This is pure propaganda. When you have a newspaper that writes an article telling you that a truck rolls into a crowd, like the Washington Post, that a truck rolls into a crowd, like no one was in the truck. You know, that's the same thing they did with the Tesla truck, the Cybertruck. Do you know how many people were putting out tweets and saying on TV that, well, maybe it was the batteries that exploded? It was a damn terrorist attack at Trump Hotel. I knew it as soon as I saw it. They knew it as soon as they saw it, but they didn't want you to believe that. They would rather you believe that a Cybertruck's batteries exploded than believe that there is someone that actually wanted to blow up people at the Trump Hotel. Let me say one last thing to put this in perspective. I'm going to expand on this in a moment, but I want to just put it in perspective. You want to know how many more terror cells could be operating in the U.S. thanks to Biden? I can answer that question. Border agents caught 300 illegal immigrants with terrorist ties, including ISIS. And the government admitted it's still incredibly easy for them to enter the U.S. How do I know this? From a new report published October the 23rd of 2024. That's how I know it. Because of what I just said to you right now. Ben Ferguson, filling in for Mark Levin. I want to get your phone calls. 1-877-381-3811. 1-877-381-3811. Ben Ferguson, much more right after this.
Mark Levin.
Did you see what the Federal Reserve did literally days after President Trump's victory? It's lowered interest rates by a quarter. Do you know why it did that? It's worried about the economy. It's worried about the fact that jobs aren't being created. We're seeing all kinds of shifts in our portfolios, and it's important to stay aware. That's why I'm urging everyone to diversify and consider gold as one of your financial shields. Now, gold has weathered every kind of economic downturn throughout history. I want you to call Advantage Gold. They're the best of the best, folks. I've dealt with all of them. They're the best. They're my gold company. 1-800-900-8000. Get a free gold investment kit to see how you can get started with gold. I recommend Advantage Gold to anyone who's serious about protecting their wealth, and that's you. Call 800-900-8000 for your free gold investment kit, and you can even qualify for up to $1,000 in free silver. That's 800-900-8000. Call them now. Tell them Mark Levin sent you. You'll be very happy with them. Performance may vary. You should always consult your financial and tax professional.
Welcome back. It is the Mark Levin Show. Ben Ferguson filling in for the great one. I want to just remind you, all of what I said in the commentary and all the audio that I played for you will be in the podcast. You can download the Mark Levin podcast. It will be in there for you tomorrow. Please share it with your friends. Also, I do a podcast every day. I'll be in there as well. The Ben Ferguson podcast. I'd love for you to follow me on my podcast as well and keep up with you there. Also, you want to send a note to me tonight during the show. You can do that. Follow me on X, Ben Ferguson Show on X. And on Instagram, it's a little bit different, at Ben Ferguson Podcast on Instagram. You can send me your comments there as well. So many of you I know can't get through on the phones. 1-877-381-3811. Let me go to Alan in Baltimore. Welcome. You are on the Mark Levin Show. Ben Ferguson filling in tonight. Hi.
Ben, thank you so much for filling in for the great one. Immensely huge shoes to fill, and really enjoy your program. But I just wanted to touch base with you, and was listening to your commentary, and I offer a little bit of a counterpoint to some of the things that you are pointing out, and please don't misunderstand. This is not a defense of the folks in New Orleans, but I think that some of the commentary and the critique may be misfounded. And what I mean by that is I totally understand some of the concerns with the anti-terrorism, the force protection issues and measures that should be in place. That were not functional, that they try to mitigate and so forth. I will play devil's advocate here after 30 years in the military, working through countless force protection and similar issues and so forth, that I don't agree that despite the crazy.
All right, do me a favor, Alan. Hold on. I want to hear what you say, but you got to get there faster, as they say. We'll do it in the next hour. Ben Ferguson filling in for the great one. Much more coming up.
This segment of the podcast is exclusively sponsored by Pure Talk. Pure Talk offers great coverage and can save your family money on your wireless bill every single month. Go to puretalk.com to find the plan that's right for you. Thank you again for listening, and thank you so much for this sponsorship, Pure Talk.
He's here. He's here. Now, broadcasting from the underground command post, deep in the bowels of a hidden bunker, somewhere under the brick and steel of a nondescript building, we've once again made contact with our leader, Mark Levin.
All right, welcome. It is the Hour 2 Mark Levin Show. Ben Ferguson filling in for the great one today. And we have got new images. The FBI, you know, the same FBI that said it wasn't a terrorist attack in New Orleans, is now saying that not only was it a terrorist attack, but it was 100% inspired by ISIS. And the FBI releases new images of the suspect on the night of the terror attack. All right, that's number one. Now, I just did something, and I want to get your opinion on it. Mr. Producer, I want your opinion on this as well, okay? There is a new video, and you can hear it in the background. Intifada Revolution. Now, you heard that audio, okay? I want you to watch that video. I just posted it on Instagram in my stories, okay? And I want you to watch it. It's the last one I just did, and I want to ask you this question. If you're out there and you are a pro-terrorist celebrating Intifada after the New Orleans terror attack, should the government have a response to you? Should we be seeing if these people are even in this country legally? Should people that are out there chanting for and encouraging terrorist attacks, if they're not American citizens, should they be deported? Now, I want you to go watch the video. I just put it up there. If you're on Instagram, at Ben Ferguson Podcast altogether, at Ben Ferguson Podcast. Put that in there. Watch the video, and then I'm going to, before I tell you anything else, I want you to see the video. Go watch it, and you tell me that if you're not an American citizen and you're in that crowd and that's what you're chanting after innocent people died, should you be deported? Now, there's going to be people that are going to be like, and I know some liberal crackhead out there is going to be like, oh my gosh, Ben Ferguson said that we should be deporting people who support the terrorists. No, it's not what I said, so I'll clarify it again. If you're not an American citizen and you're out on the streets, because I believe in free speech. I want to be clear about that. I want to know who my enemy is. I want to know who the crazies are. But if you're not an American citizen and you're in the streets shutting down traffic in New York City and you are celebrating and chanting and supporting the terrorists and celebrating their intifada against the U.S. in the new year, and you're not an American citizen, is that a person we should be welcoming to? Now, notice, I don't give a crap who you are. I don't care if you're white or black or Christian or Muslim or agnostic or whatever. Like, I don't care. Is that a person that we should be saying, come on into the United States of America? 1-877-381-3811. Go watch the video. And after you see the video, I want your opinion. Now, let me get back to your phone calls. 1-877-381-3811, 1-877-381-3811. I want to go back to Alan. Alan, I want you to ask your question quickly for everyone. And I went back to, for people that just joined us, I have called for several different people to be fired. I've called for the FBI, whatever that chick's name was in New Orleans that said this wasn't a terrorist attack, for her to be fired. I want the people to be fired that were too incompetent and stupid to not have the barriers up on New Year's Eve in New Orleans. You should be fired. The people that wrote the dumb A headline in the Washington Post should be fired, implying that a truck with no one in it randomly just rolled down the street and hit some people in New Orleans. All of these people should be fired. So, with that being said, Alan, go ahead with your point.
Yep, I apologize for not getting to the point quicker. I do think that Granny from the Beverly Hillbillies in New Orleans probably should be, I don't know how the hell she got hired, to be honest. But the point that I make is with what's going on in New Orleans and what happened in the force protection challenges that were there, it seems like a lot of people are punching down. in this, because there were things that were in place and so forth, and this individual who took advantage of driving up on the sidewalk, terrible situation. However, my bigger question is, why? Where is our intelligence? Where is the FBI? Why are they chasing people still under January 6th and so forth? Why was there not a bulletin put out? How did this person not make it onto the radar to give Granny Clampett in freaking New Orleans some intel to say, hey, you are under, you're in the crosshairs. Why are we castigating New Orleans? Yes, there were shortfalls and so forth, but the apparatus and the government that we have that is designed to try to mitigate these things.
This is exactly why I'm saying and calling for them to be fired. We as taxpayers should be demanding it. We should be demanding that we have competent people in positions of power, not in DEI positions. Okay? Like that's the part that people need to understand. I go back to the new bombshell investigation that uncovered more than $100 million in grant funding from the Biden Department of Justice went towards promoting restorative justice, DEI, and social emotional learning in the classroom. Why? So they could influence millions of students. 3.5 million K through 12 students are being indoctrinated to believe that our government is evil, that DEI is the way, and that restorative justice, meaning, cashless bail and emptying out the prisons and not holding people accountable for their actions, is what America needs. That's number one. I go back to what I said earlier, an even more important point that I made earlier. You've got this tweet, and it's such a damning tweet. It is such a damning tweet. And it is the tweet of, yet again, the FBI having, we don't want the best to come work for us. Instead, what we're asking for is we are asking for one thing. We are asking for anybody that is not normal, who we consider to be abnormal, to come apply for a job. Normal would be like normal dude, normal chick, good resume, wants to serve in intelligence or the FBI or law enforcement. No, that's not what we want. We want diversity, equity, and inclusion. That's what we want. We're having recruitment solely based around diversity, equity, and inclusion. That is what we want. And so we are telling you we are having a hiring day where the only thing we're looking to hire is people that at the FBI New Orleans that fit the narrative of diversity, equity, and inclusion. They spent money on an event not wanting the best people, okay, not wanting the brightest people, wanting people that check boxes. All right, how many trainees did we hire today? Great. How many gay people did we hire today? Great. How many lesbians did we hire today? Great. How many bisexual people did we hire today? Great. How many Asians did we hire today? Great. How many black people did we hire today? How many Mexicans did we hire today? Like, their pie for the FBI in New Orleans, based on their own tweet, is a pie that they've decided is the best DEI pie, not the best pie to protect the people. I don't care what, if you're, I mean this, and I cannot explain it without wanting to be even more blunt, and I'm going to self-censor myself right now. I don't care who you sleep with. I don't care if you're sleeping with a dude or a chick or a tranny. If you are the best person to fill a position at the FBI when it comes to counterterrorism, then you should be hired. I don't care if you have a penis or a vagina. I want you to, if you're the best person for the job, whether you have a penis or a vagina, then that is the person I want in the job if your job is to profile terrorists. What I don't want is a DEI hire who stands up there and says to the American people, I would either because she's stupid or she's a liar. Okay, I don't know which one she is. I really don't know. At this point, I don't care. What I do know is she clearly doesn't have what it takes to keep us safe. When the first thing that the world hears from this FBI agent, when she stands up there in front of us, is that this was not an act of terrorism, when everybody with a brain knows that this is an act of terrorism.
This is not a terrorist event. What it is right now is their improvised explosive devices that was found, and we are working on confirming if it's a viable device or not.
She should not have the ability to access her email right now. She should be a former employee of the FBI. And when I was 16, if I didn't lock the damn door to the store when I left, I didn't have a job the next day when I got to work. Why am I held to a higher standard than she is held to? At 16. And by the way, if I didn't lock the door to the store when I was 16, nobody died because of it. No one died because of it. 1-877-381. 1-877-381-3208. Is that right? I think I got that right. I have too many. 3811. Sorry, 1-877-381-3811. That's the number. Now, during the break, go watch the video I posted, and I want to get your take if people that are not American citizens who are out there celebrating the streets in Times Square in New York City, shutting down traffic, celebrating the death of innocent people at the hands of ISIS-inspired individuals, terrorists, should they be deported? If they are not American citizens, if that's what they're bringing to America, go look at the video. I just posted it on Instagram at Ben Ferguson Podcast. We'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
You voted big government out and efficient government in. Well, now it's time to trim the fat from big wireless. If you're still on the other big name providers, I have one question. Why? Pure Talk, my cell phone company, gives you the exact same service on the exact same towers with better customer service because they're based right here in the United States, all for half the cost. That's right. There's simply no need to spend $85 or $100 per person on your wireless bill, not when you can get unlimited talk, text, and 15 gigs of data with mobile hotspot, just $35 a month. My friends, the average family of four could save about $1,000 a year with Pure Talk while enjoying one of America's most dependable 5G networks. So cut the fat out of your wireless bill. Switch to Pure Talk by going to puretalk.com/Levin. Again, puretalk.com/Levin, and you'll save an additional 50% off your first month with Pure Talk, America's wireless company.
All right, welcome back. It is the Mark Levin Show. Ben Ferguson filling in for the great one. And I'm getting yelled at right now, Mr. Producer, because apparently some people do not have Instagram where I post this video, and I want your reaction. Should people doing what they're doing in New York City be deported if they're not American citizens? I will put up the same video up on X as well if you're on there, at Ben Ferguson Show on X. Okay, so if you're on X, I'll put it up there. I'm going to find it real quick, and I'll put it up there in a moment. You can watch it there. And if you're on Instagram, at Ben Ferguson Podcast. I know they don't match. One's podcast. I started one a long time ago. Just help work with me here, okay? That's what I'm saying. Now, before I get your reaction to people doing what they're doing in Times Square that are celebrating these terrorists, should they be deported, go watch the video and then call me. I want to play for you what CNN's doing with their propaganda right now. Now, many of you that listen to me and have heard me before fill in for the great one, you know I spent 7 years in hell at CNN as a conservative commentator fighting the commies over there. One of them I had to deal with on a regular basis with a woman by the name of Breonna Keeler. Breonna Keeler is not dumb. She's incredibly smart. She's incredibly good at using her brain to push stupid things and stupid propaganda. I'm going to play for you this state-sponsored propaganda. This script basically should have been written by the Democratic Party. She's a hardcore lefty. All right, she's one of the commies over there at CNN. And this is what she had to say to a New Orleans congressman. And I want you to listen to Breonna talk to Congressman Carter, listen carefully.
I do want to ask you, though, just back to what we were talking about, which is that you have President-elect Trump and Speaker Johnson talking about open borders in some sort of proximity to what happened in New Orleans, when we need to be very clear that this suspect was an American citizen born in the U.S., an Army veteran from Texas. What's your reaction to this?
Brianna, it's unfortunate that both the president-elect and Speaker Johnson has chosen to make this a partisan issue. This is an American attack. This is an attack on our democracy. This is an attack on our freedoms. This person was radicalized, but it was an American citizen, a citizen of Texas, and someone who was honorably discharged from the United States Army. We should not play games with the American people to try and imply that it was something that it wasn't, or to somehow suggest that this was a Democrat or Republican issue. We have to be more mature and more direct and fair and honest with the American people. This is not the time to play political brinksmanship or gamesmanship. This is a time that we should be united as Americans to push back against terrorism, push back against terrorist threats, and to demonstrate to the American people that we will use every resource that we have to combat these kind of hateful and heinous acts. No time for political games or trickery to suggest somehow that one party or the other may be responsible. The families of the loved ones who have died and those who are in the hospital fighting for their lives, and our law enforcement agents from the federal, local, and state deserve better. And I would call on all of our leadership to stand firm and recognizing that we are Americans and we are better than this.
Congressman Troy Carter, thank you so much. We are, again, with New Orleans today, and we're awaiting the beginning here of the...
Yeah, let me just pause this state-sponsored commie propaganda that you just heard from Breonna Taylor and this congressman. What Donald Trump has said, what I have said, what Speaker Johnson has said, is that we are stretched too thin, and that we have hundreds and hundreds of people that are coming across the southern border on the terrorist watch list who we're trying to deal with, and we're not focused on terrorism. And homegrown terrorists like this can slip through the cracks because we are stretched so thin because of the wide open southern border and all the bad guys that are coming in, that we are not able to focus on these types of events like we should. She knows that. Breonna Taylor is not an idiot. She's not an idiot. She is one of the best propagandists I've ever seen at CNN. She will go on there and she will tell you that the sky is purple if it fits the narrative that the Democratic Party tells her to go on TV and to say. Ben Ferguson, filling in for Mark Levin. We'll come back. We'll talk about deporting every person who is supporting the terrorists marching in New York City that's not an American citizen. Should we do that? Coming up next.
You voted big government out and efficient government in. Well, now it's time to trim the fat from big wireless. If you're still on the other big name providers, I have one question. Why? Pure Talk, my cell phone company, gives you the exact same service on the exact same towers with better customer service because they're based right here in the United States, all for half the cost. That's right. There's simply no need to spend $85 or $100 per person on your wireless bill. Not when you can get unlimited talk, text, and 15 gigs of data with mobile hotspot. Just $35 a month. My friends, the average family of four could save about $1,000 a year with Pure Talk while enjoying one of America's most dependable 5G networks. So cut the fat out of your wireless bill. Switch to Pure Talk by going to puretalk.com/Levin. Again, puretalk.com/LEVIN, and you'll save an additional 50% off your first month with Pure Talk, America's wireless company.
Where Americans meet to defend liberty and defeat tyranny. Call the Mark Levin Show now at 877-381-3811.
All right, welcome back. It is the Mark Levin Show. Ben Ferguson filling in for the great one tonight. We have so much to chat about, including the fact that we have to ask the question, is there anybody that can get fired in our government when they show incompetency? When the FBI comes out and does a press conference telling you that what you just witnessed, which was clearly terrorism in New Orleans, is not terrorism, lying to every single one of us. Dan Patrick, the lieutenant governor in Texas, put it this way. He said, quote, as acting governor, earlier this morning I spoke with our law enforcement to learn what we know about the Texas license plate that was reported on the truck involved in the deadly terrorist attack in New Orleans. At that time, our great Texas law enforcement already had enough information for me to determine that this was a deadly terrorist attack. An ISIS flag on the truck sends a pretty clear message. He then said the idea that the FBI assistant special agent in charge in New Orleans said this morning that this is not a terrorist attack is shocking, idiotic, and alarming. If the agent was unsure, she should have said she didn't know at that moment. The fact that the FBI assistant special agent in charge said with assurance that this was not a terrorist attack should be reason for the agent's termination. There are many great agents in the FBI, but it's clear leadership is lacking at the highest levels of the FBI, and major reform is needed. I spoke to President Trump this morning about the attack and told him he can't get to the Oval Office soon enough. Why is he writing that? Why is he saying it? Because if you have an FBI and the leadership that is this stupid, no wonder there's so many people that can die at the hands of a terrorist.
This is not a terrorist event. What it is right now is their improvised explosive devices that was found, and we are working on confirming if it's a viable device or not.
Somebody just, by the way, sent me a tweet that said, Ben, you're being very unfair to this woman. And she may not have been a DEI hire. Well, then she was just a bad hire, because it actually makes me feel better if she's a DEI hire. And they said on X, and I read them all during the break. You can tweet at me at Ben Ferguson Show on X. And I posted the video, by the way. I want you to look at the people marching in New York City. And we're going to talk about that in a second. Should you be deported from this country if you're out there supporting terrorists and you're not an American citizen? But they said, Ben, you're being unfair. I'm not being unfair. It wasn't like she was caught off guard, like walking to her car and she hadn't been briefed yet. They decide when the damn briefing is. They're the ones that called the damn briefing. They're the ones that set up the microphones and the place to speak for the damn briefing. I'm not being hard on her. She said she had enough information to go out there and to be the expert as a special agent in charge and to tell the world what just happened, what's going on with what just happened on New Year's Day. And then she says it's not a terrorist attack. Yes, it is.
This is not a terrorist event.
Everybody knew it was. By the way, when she said that, she knew there was an ISIS flag involved. How the hell do you go out there and tell the world that this isn't a terrorist event when there's an ISIS flag involved? Can someone explain that to me, please? You're like, well, you're just being too hard. You're just being too hard on her. I'm not being too hard on her. I'm just not stupid. And by the way, she works for all of us. She's the one that works for us. We're the ones that pay her salary. We pay her bills. I'm not being too hard on her. I don't like it when innocent people die. And I don't like it when incompetent people come out afterwards and say really stupid things. She deserves to lose her job. And there's a lot of people around her, if they approve this, that deserve to lose their job. Because when you start hiring people based on the color of their skin or based on if they have if they're trans or gay or bi or they fit some minority quota that you want, in law enforcement and in the military, this is when people die. This is when people die. And they did. Again. 1-877-381-3811. 1-877-381-3811. Now, I want to go to your phone calls, and I want to get your reaction to what has happened in New York. As all of this was happening. On the same night this terrorist attack happened, people gathered in New York to celebrate and to cheer on the terrorists who committed these attacks in America. And the question I have is, should they be deported if they're not American citizens? Let me go to Lance, line 1. Welcome. You're on the Mark Levin Show. Ben Ferguson filling in. Hi.
Good evening, Mr. Ferguson. Thank you. Hey, I'm going to see your deportation and raise you a potential insurrection, and then I'm going to lay down the full house I've got in my hand here real quick. Okay, if you're an American citizen, you're out there, I get the First Amendment and all that, but if you're out there propagating alongside these causes that are not within the parameters of what our country stands for, I think you should be looked at as being a part of an insurrection. And in some cases, maybe even look at treasonous behavior. Next, to Miss Brienne, who's holding a pair of deuces. Okay, she's comparing apples to oranges here, and she's got nothing in her hand. And as far as the FBI spokes idiot that came out, okay, I'm just a dirty nail bender, but, I'm sick of these people trying to blow rainbows up my backside. She's got maybe a pair of fours with ace high. Okay, you all lose. Mr. Ferguson, keep fighting the great fight, and I appreciate everything you do.
Thank you, sir. It's good to talk to you. By the way, you want to talk about misinformation and disinformation, or just straight-up lies to the American people and to the world? Elon Musk just tweeted this out a minute ago saying, someone tweeted this out saying, quote, "I'm genuinely concerned for people who still trust mainstream media. My brother sent me this screenshot today from Italy's state-owned news. The translation is this: 1 person dead, 7 injured. This is the toll of the explosion that occurred at 7:40 in the morning in Las Vegas, Nevada, when a Tesla Cybertruck exploded and then caught fire, killing the driver and injuring 7 people nearby in the parking area of a luxury hotel owned by Donald Trump. The injured were admitted to 3 hospitals, while firefighters had to work for hours to extract a body from the wreckage of the electric SUV. The cause of the incident is not yet clear." Does any of that sound like a terrorist attack? We knew within minutes what actually happened. We had the video, we had the eyewitness accounts, we had the experts. We knew that this wasn't a Cybertruck that exploded. We knew it was a terrorist attack. And then Elon Musk came out and made it very clear that this wasn't a battery that exploded. This wasn't some sort of accident. This was clearly a terrorist attack. Elon Musk said most people in Europe think the legacy media is real. Send them links to X so that they know the truth. Nothing is more convincing than actual source material, referring to the fact that everybody now knows, right, that has a brain that actually looks at this and doesn't believe. I'm just telling you, I wouldn't believe a damn thing the media ever says anymore. Go back to the headline from the Washington Post. They want you to believe that an unmanned truck went rolling down the street and rolled over some people and killed them in New Orleans. Why do I say that? Because that's their damn headline. Their headline wants you to believe that a truck with no one in it just randomly started rolling down the street in New Orleans. Their exact headline: truck rams New Orleans crowd. Truck, not a driver, not a terrorist. A truck. Just a truck rams New Orleans crowd. The Washington Post tells us a truck drove in the New Orleans crowd all by itself. All by itself. 1-877-381-3811. Let me go to... Let me go to Joe in Trenton, New Jersey. Welcome. You're on the Mark Levin Show. Ben Ferguson with you. Hi.
Hey, Ben. First of all, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, sir.
These protesters we see out in the streets, we know where this is all starting. This is all in the colleges. Yeah, I'm 70 years old, and I could see, as time went on, how more and more liberal the educators became in this country and how more and more anti-American the students have become. Let's start in the colleges and see what's going on and who's teaching what in the colleges. You'll find a lot of our problems that we're seeing now. Number two, back in the 70s, there was a KGB defector named Yuri Bezmenov. People better look at that video and see what he had to say, and they could see, just listen to what he has to say. He says you could present people with evidence, and they still won't believe what's happening. That's how indoctrinated our students will become. And he's right. That's what's happening. America's being taken. They're trying to take over America from the educators in this country. Wise up, America. Start going after the educators in this country.
And by the way, while the FBI takes longer to get to the house of the terrorists in New Orleans than the media got there, okay, and then they tell you that this was not a terrorist attack, we've now found out even more, Joe, about the individual. The New Orleans ISIS terrorists had bomb-making station and a Koran opened a chilling passage in his home. New photos reveal. The New Orleans, quote, ISIS terrorists had a workbench in his bedroom that was set up for making bombs, while a Quran on his bookshelf nearby was left open to a passage about quote-unquote slang in the name of Allah. This all exclusively now coming from the New York Post. I'm going to have more on this coming up for you in a moment. Don't forget, go watch the video. I posted on X, at Ben Ferguson Show on X. And tell me if the people that are celebrating these terrorists in New York City, should they be deported if they're not American citizens? I put it up on Instagram as well. On Instagram, it's at Ben Ferguson Podcast. We'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
You voted big government out and efficient government in. Well, now it's time to trim the fat from big wireless. If you're still on the other big name providers, I have one question. Why? Pure Talk, my cell phone company, gives you the exact same service on the exact same towers with better customer service because they're based right here in the United States, all for half the cost. That's right. There's simply no need to spend $85 or $100 per person on your wireless bill, not when you could get unlimited talk, text, and 15 gigs of data with mobile hotspot, just $35 a month. My friends, the average family of four could save about $1,000 a year with Pure Talk while enjoying one of America's most dependable 5G networks. So cut the fat out of your wireless bill. Switch to Pure Talk by going to puretalk.com/Levin. Again, puretalk.com/LEVIN, and you'll save an additional 50% off your first month with Pure Talk, America's wireless company.
All right, so remember earlier I told you that there are reporters that showed up to the home in Houston of the terrorists hours before the FBI showed up after the attack. This is the same FBI special agent in charge that told you this was not a terrorist attack. Well, now one of those same reporters is telling us this. ISIS-inspired New Orleans terrorists kept a bomb-making workbench in his ransacked Texas trailer home where a Quran was left open on a page about slang in the name of Allah. Exclusive photos obtained by the Post show. The North Houston home was filled with chemical residue and chemical bottles, while an inventory of items seized by the FBI left behind by investigators who raided the house on Wednesday included a long list of compounds used in bomb making. Let me just say that again. This is when it goes back to what I'm talking about with DEI. How the hell do you leave this behind? I'm going to say it again. The man's North Houston home was filled with chemical residue and chemical bottles, while an inventory of items seized by the FBI left behind by investigators who raided the house on Wednesday, including a long list of compounds used in bomb makings. Maybe the investigators shouldn't leave that behind, folks. His Quran was propped atop a bookshelf, a centerpiece in the living room, open to a passage reading, "They fight in Allah's cause and slay and are slain, a promise binding." Propped open right there, very clearly on purpose. The passage, verse 9:111, which is eerily close to 9/11, expounds on Muslims' responsibility to kill Allah's enemies and to be willing to die for that mission in return for eternity in paradise. Numerous books about Islam were also on the shelf and around the man's home, while a prayer rug was rolled up nearby. FBI officials on Thursday said that the man posted 5 disturbing videos on Facebook on his drive from Houston to New Orleans, just hours before he unleashed carnage on Bourbon Street, leaving 14 innocent pedestrians dead. In the first disturbing video, posted at 1:29 a.m., the U.S. Army veteran said he had initially planned on murdering his family and friends, but changed his mind over concerns the resulting media coverage wouldn't focus on the war, quote, between the believers and disbelievers. FBI counterterrorism official Chris Raha said. In other videos, he said he had joined ISIS before this summer and showed off his last will and testament. Investigators confirmed the 42-year-old was ideologically aligned with ISIS and that he specifically chose Bourbon Street as the target of his monstrous act of terror. However, they have yet to piece together what precisely brought about his radicalization. The IT whiz was on a legitimate career path until apparently falling on hard times both personally and financially. He contended that 2 failed marriages and facing mounting debt before he murdered 14 innocent pedestrians and injured dozens more with an explosive-laden F-150 Ford truck bearing the black flag of the jihadist group ISIS. But don't worry, the same FBI wanted you to believe the person in charge who knew there was an ISIS flag said this to you.
This is not a terrorist event. What it is right now is their improvised explosive devices.
So there you go. FBI knew there was an ISIS flag, knew there was connections, but the media somehow got to this dude's house before the FBI did, hours before. Born in Texas, the man joined the Army in 2006, serving at bases in Alaska, North Carolina, before deploying to Afghanistan in 2009, where he served for 11 months, the Wall Street Journal has reported. Although it isn't believed he served in a combat role. He was promoted to staff sergeant sometime in 2013. Before leaving the Army as an active duty soldier 2 years later, the man picked up a pair of disciplinary actions for driving under the influence, according to the outlet. After 5 years as a reservist, he was honorably discharged and before long was studying computer information systems at Georgia State University, while simultaneously working as a senior cloud analyst at Big Four consulting firm Accenture. From 19 to 21, he worked at EY, also a Big Four firm, as a cloud consulting manager before landing a gig at yet another top consultancy, Deloitte, where he earned a salary of apparently $125,000. Meanwhile, his family life was in turmoil. His first wife, the Post reports, from whom he separated in 2010, got custody of the couple's children, while he was ordered to pay child support as well as for their medical insurance. I go back to what I said earlier. Maybe if the FBI wasn't trying to track down Grandma, who happened to be in D.C. on January the 6th, I don't know, maybe we'd have a better chance of actually catching jihadists like this that are homegrown. Just an idea. Call me crazy. Ben Ferguson filling in for the great one. We'll be right back.
He's here. Now, broadcasting from the underground command post, deep in the bowels of a hidden bunker, somewhere under the brick and steel of a nondescript building, we've once again made contact with our leader, Mark Levin.
Welcome. It is the Mark Levin Show. Ben Ferguson filling in for the great one. Here's what we know now, as I keep updating you on breaking news. Number one, we know now that all of a sudden all the barricades that weren't up in New Orleans, because they were, quote, getting the barricades and everything ready for, the Super Bowl, and apparently before a massive bowl game, and New Year's Eve is not a time to do this, or is the perfect time to fix them or repair them or have them inactive. All of a sudden today, a bunch of new barricades are up in New Orleans. Isn't that amazing? Number two, trying to cover their own AWSs. The FBI and the Department of Homeland Security have now come out confirming that they warned law enforcement, local law enforcement, of vehicle attacks over the holidays. That would include New Year's. Yes. FBI also telling us, and this is breaking news right now, that 2 improvised explosive devices have been recovered in the Bourbon Street area. That is the latest breaking news that just came out from New Orleans. But remember, the same FBI that's now telling us all of this, when they sent out their very first chance to tell us what was going on in the country, they told us this was not a terrorist attack. Let that sink in. It was not a terrorist attack. Now the same FBI is saying the New Orleans attacker was 100% inspired by ISIS.
Not a terrorist event. What it is right now is their improvised explosive devices that was found, and we are working on confirming if it's a viable device or not.
So there you go. Not a terrorist attack, but now it is a terrorist attack. Now we're telling you the New Orleans attacker is 100% inspired by ISIS. Now the same media out there also wanted you to believe that this individual that was a ISIS terrorist, or ISIS-inspired terrorist, however you want to describe it. One of the things that is even more interesting than that is they wanted you, the media, to believe that this was just a random truck driven by no one that was going down the street that randomly just happened to roll over some people. Washington Post headline basically says exactly that. And if that's not enough to make you angry, they also wanted you to believe, the same media, that the Tesla truck that exploded in front of Trump Hotel in Las Vegas, that was just a battery issue and Elon Musk's fault, Tesla's fault, and that the batteries malfunctioned, and that's why the car exploded. Now they're saying that that was a terrorist attack. What's even more shocking than that is what we are now finding out from the New York Post about this radical in our government who is in our military, and we didn't know anything about this dude apparently wanting to be a jihadist. That's what they want you to believe. And what he was doing at his house, the same FBI that showed up hours after reporters showed up at his home and then left behind in the house, like a log of some of the evidence that they were apparently logging for the media to then report on. Also not a joke. There is a New York Post article that is out right now. I am going to link this article on X. It is a article that was put by Jenny Terre, Chris Nessie, and Alex Oliveira, who wrote this article. And it's a phenomenal article that has just come out about the New Orleans ISIS terrorist. He had bomb-making station Anna Karan open to chilling passage in his home. New photos reveal. By the way, when people tell me the Quran is peaceful, I will never believe you. You want to know why? Because I've read the whole damn thing. I read after 9/11 because I wanted to understand it, and I wanted to understand how a book could allow or radicalize people into believing that they are going to get all their virgins and that they should kill people the way they do, including women and children. After reading the Quran, it was very clear to me that the Quran is not a peaceful book. There are peaceful Muslims, but the Quran is not a peaceful book. How do I know that? Because I've read the damn Quran, cover to cover, in my life, not once, but twice. So let's go to this article, and I'm going to put this up on X for you so you can have it and share it and read it if you want to. I'll put it up on Instagram as well. You can follow me on X and send your comments at Ben Ferguson Show. Don't forget, all of this will be in the podcast tomorrow. You can download Mark Levin podcast. Will be there. Please download my podcast as well, the Ben Ferguson podcast, so that I can keep up with you there as well. Now, I'm going to go back to the beginning of this article because I think it's that important for you to understand how much the government missed, because our FBI is more obsessed with chasing grandmas from January the 6th, going after right-to-life prayer warriors on the streets in America that they then think are somehow a threat to society, and going after conservatives and also raiding Donald Trump's home at Mar-a-Lago. That is the FBI. That is what they did. This is because of leadership. They also proudly said they were having DEI hiring events in New Orleans. Just 6 months ago, they were tweeting out from the FBI New Orleans account, please sign up if you're, like a tranny or something. We'd love to have you at the FBI. Same FBI agents that are telling you this isn't a terrorist attack. So you want to know why they're missing this stuff? This is exactly why, because they care more about diversity, equity, and inclusion than actually taking on the terrorists. Now, here's what we know from the reporting, from the reporters that were able to show up at the house of this terrorist hours before the FBI got there. ISIS-inspired New Orleans terrorists kept a bomb-making workbench in his Texas trailer home, where a Quran was left open on a page about slaying, quote-unquote, in the name of Allah. Exclusive photos obtained by the Post show. The man's North Houston home was filled with chemical residue and chemical bottles, while an inventory of items seized by the FBI was left behind by investigators who raided his house on Wednesday. There's your FBI for you right now. I'm sure some of the people there were probably DEI hires, including a long list of compounds used in bomb-making material. His Quran was propped atop a bookshelf, a centerpiece in his living room, and open to a passage reading, quote, "They fight in Allah's cause and slay and are slain, a promise binding," quote unquote. Yes, it's in the Quran. If you don't believe me, go read the Quran. You can read it. It's right there for you. It's not hard to find. In fact, I'll even tell you what the verse is to read. Verse 9:111. 9:111. Go read it in the Quran for yourself. It expounds on Muslims' responsibility in that verse to kill Allah's enemies. By the way, we're the infidels. That's who they want to kill, just so you understand. And be willing to die for that mission in return for eternity in paradise. You know, you get a bunch of virgins that way. Numerous books about Islam were also on the shelf and around the person's home, while a prayer rug was rolled up nearby. FBI officials on Thursday said the man posted 5 disturbing videos on Facebook on his drive from Houston to New Orleans just hours before he unleashed carnage on Bourbon Street, leaving 14 innocent pedestrians dead. In the first disturbing video, posted at 1:29 a.m., the U.S. Army veteran said he initially planned on murdering his family and friends, but changed his mind over concerns the resulting media coverage would focus on the war between wouldn't focus on the war between the believers and disbelievers, FBI counterterrorism officials have said. In other videos, he said he had joined ISIS, quote, before the summer and showed off his last will and testament. Investigators confirmed the 42-year-old was ideologically aligned with ISIS, and they specifically chose Bourbon Street as the target of his monstrous act of terror. Why? Because, well, I mean, hey, you got the barricades down because they're not wanting to use them right now because some dumb A decided, we don't need barricades on New Year's Eve when there's been warnings from the FBI and the Department of Homeland Security that a person in a car could do exactly what they've done multiple times around the world, that we've seen this play out multiple times before when there's crowded areas. No, we're gonna have those hydraulic barriers down and not working because we're, quote, getting them ready for the Super Bowl. Whoever's in charge of that, I will say it again, should be fired. Back to the article. They have yet to piece together what precisely brought about his radicalization. The IT whiz was on a legitimate career path until apparently falling on hard times both personally and financially. He contended with 2 failed marriages and faced mounting debt before he murdered 14 innocent pedestrians and injured dozens more with an explosive-laden F-150 truck bearing the black flag of the jihadist group ISIS. By the way, I just got to go back. I'm not beating a dead horse. I just want to remind you how much the FBI deliberately lied to you. They knew that the black flag was on the truck. They knew it was an ISIS flag, and this is what they told you.
This is not a terrorist event. What it is right now is their improvised explosive devices that was found, and we are working on confirming if it's a viable device or not.
There it is. This isn't a terrorist attack. This isn't a terrorist event. Okay, like we're the FBI. We hire based on the color of your skin. And if you're a dude acting like you're a chick or a chick acting like a dude, or if you're gay or straight. No, we're not hiring the best and the brightest. No, we want to know what skin color you are because we want a perfect pie of diversity, equity, and inclusion. Back to the article. Born in Texas, Jabbar joined the Army in 2006, serving at bases in Alaska and North Carolina before being deployed to Afghanistan in 2009, where he served for 11 months, the Wall Street Journal reported. Although it isn't believed he served in a combat role, he was promoted to staff sergeant sometime in 2013. Before leaving the Army as an active duty soldier 2 years later, the man picked up a pair of disciplinary actions for driving under the influence, according to the outlet. After 5 years as a reservist, he was honorably discharged, and before long was studying computer information systems at Georgia State University, while simultaneously working as a senior cloud analyst at a Big Four consulting firm, Accenture. The outlet writes, citing an online resume he posted. Then, from 19 to 2021, he worked at EY, also a Big Four firm, as a cloud consulting manager before landing a gig at yet another top consultancy, Deloitte, where he earned a salary of apparently $125,000 a year. Meanwhile, his family life was in turmoil. His first wife, from whom he separated in 2012, got custody of the couple's children, while he was ordered to pay child support as well as their medical insurance. He remarried in 2017, but 3 years later, his second marriage hit the skids. His ex wanted a restraining order which prohibited the man from sending her obscene or threatening messages, threatening bodily injury to her or the couple's child, the outlet reported. During the divorce proceedings, which came after a failed attempt by the couple to reconcile, the man provided a statement to the court claiming financial hardship, with $7,500 a month in income and just shy of $9,000 in liabilities. His younger brother, a 24-year-old, described him as a sweetheart, really a nice guy, a friend, a really smart, caring guy. This is more some type of radicalization, not religion, the brother told the New York Times. Let me say that again. His brother says this is more some type of radicalization, not religion. I'm tired of having this debate over the Quran. There are peaceful Muslims, no doubt. But go read the Quran, and you tell me if it's peaceful. Make your own conclusion. Go read it. Go read it, and then call me, and let's have that conversation. Okay, go read it. Just go read the damn thing. Back to the article. The FBI revealed that the man acted alone in the attack after poring over his social media accounts, conducting hundreds of interviews with witnesses and searching 3 cell phones and 2 laptops recovered from an Airbnb in New Orleans linked to the terror suspect. Digital media exploitation is a priority, the FBI has said. They said the group of individuals seen on surveillance video looking inside coolers were patriots just poking around, no one that was actually planting bombs. 2 IEDs and coolers planted along Bourbon Street were later recovered. There was nothing to indicate through call records, interviews, or anything in our system that he was aided in this attack by anyone. All right, I'm going to pause there. I want to read the next part of this to you, and then I want to get your phone calls. 1-877-381-3811. Now the FBI says this was 100% inspired by ISIS after telling you this was not a terrorist attack. Kash Patel cannot get to the FBI fast enough and start firing people. That's my opinion. Ben Ferguson filling in for Mark Levin. We'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
All right, welcome back. It is the Mark Levin Show. Ben Ferguson filling in for the great one tonight. We have just got so much that we were talking about this evening, and I do want to get your phone calls in here. 1-877-381-3811 is the number. 1-877-381-3811. Let me also just say something else real quick before I get back to this article. Go back and look, and many of you that just joined us, I posted another video up on X right now of what was happening last night in New York City. And the question I'm asking, and I want you to see the video, is should we deport every person who is not an American who's supporting or marching for terrorists? I want to get your reaction. Go look at the video on X at Ben Ferguson Show. I also put it up on Instagram. If you're on Instagram, follow it there. It's different. It's at Ben Ferguson Podcast. I want you to see the video, and then I want you to answer me that question. Should we deport every person who's not an American who is supporting or marching for terrorists? Your phone calls, 1-877-381-3811. Let me get back to this article that I was reading about what we know about this guy and what he believed and how he was clearly an ISIS terrorist, even though the FBI said, it's not a terrorist attack at first. Back in Houston, the man told neighbors in the predominantly Muslim area that he was moving to New Orleans for a new job in IT just hours before driving off in the same white truck he would use in the massacre. A man who lives next door said he offered to help the man move that morning, but the killer explained he was moving to a furnished apartment in New Orleans and wasn't bringing anything with him. Unfortunately, you can't read someone's mind, the man said, explaining that the man appeared completely normal when they spoke that morning. I was shocked. The trailer was left in a state of disarray. While the front door kicked down, cabinets thrown open, and cheap furniture tossed around the place after the raid by the feds. A back bedroom was filled with children's toys and bunk beds, while the main bedroom had a jellyfish hanging. A Kellyan hanging in the closet. Lawmakers were briefed about the incident Thursday and were told the man who was killed in a shootout with cops had never been on a terror watch list prior to the rampage, sources have told the New York Post. I go back to what I said earlier. Maybe if we weren't trying to hire people based on if they're trans or gay or short or Asian or whatever the hell makes DEI, we'd catch these guys. More coming up.
The establishment's worst nightmare. Mark Levin. Call in now. 877-381-3811.
All right, let me give you some other breaking news real quick, and that is this. House Administration Oversight Subcommittee is now calling for an FBI investigation. Listen carefully and enjoy this moment of what I'm about to read. House Administration Oversight Subcommittee is calling for an FBI investigation into former Representative Liz Cheney for allegedly tampering with a witness during the congressional inquiry into January 6th. Now, you may remember Dick Cheney endorsed Joe Biden. Liz Cheney, the daughter of Dick Cheney, also endorsed and supported Joe Biden. Now we know just how corrupt she was, as the House Administration Oversight Committee is calling for an FBI investigation into former Representative Liz Cheney for allegedly tampering with a witness during the congressional inquiry. As one person put it, justice is a dish best served with prison time. Now let me also say this as well. The White House making sure that they reward those who help them with their enemies list. Why do I say that? Because as this comes out about Liz Cheney, what is the White House doing? The White House is doing everything they can to make her feel good about herself. It's truly unbelievable. Liz Cheney tampered with a witness outside of D.C. That doesn't get you a medal. It should get you jail time, is what my co-host and Senator Ted Cruz of the podcast I host with him, Verdict with Ted Cruz, said in a tweet earlier today. Biden, it was announced, as giving leaders of the January 6th congressional panel, Liz Cheney and Benny Thompson, the U.S. second highest civilian medal, we're now being told. And again, Ted Cruz said in his tweet, this is truly unbelievable. Liz Cheney tampered with a witness outside of D.C. This doesn't get you a medal. It gets you jail time. I couldn't agree more with what Senator Cruz had to say there. It'll be interesting to see what happens now with this recommendation for this FBI inquiry. Also, I love you guys that listen, and it's always an honor to fill in for the great one. Mr. Producer, do you know what I'm getting messages right now? People that know that I am a massive Ole Miss Rebels fan are sending me score updates on X. I love you guys. Someone's like, Ferguson, you're a patriot. You're doing a radio show about the terrorists while your Ole Miss Rebels are playing in a bowl game. This is true. So I will say to all my Rebels out there, keep sending my score updates, hotty toddy, and I'll keep fighting for America at the same time. Now, let me get to some of your phone calls. The number, 1-877-381-3811. 1-877-381-3811. Let me go to Charlie, line 5 in California. Welcome. You're on the Mark Levin Show. Ben Ferguson with you. Hi. Charlie, you there? All right, I guess we lost Charlie. Let me go to Rachel in Virginia, line 3. Welcome. You are on the Mark Levin Show with Ben Ferguson tonight. Hi.
Hello, Ben. It's an honor. Thank you so much for taking my call.
Good to talk to you as well. Go ahead.
Yes, sir. So first of all, a couple points. One, I did see the video about what was going on in New York, and at the end of that area that they're marching, there should be buses. All of them should be black bagged, put on the buses and in little square rooms and interviewed, for one. For two, the fact that the FBI thinks that there's any chance we believe anything they have to say is laughable. To really try to gaslight us and say these two events aren't connected, pretty coincidental. Symbolism is everything. So the fact that it was a Tesla that went into Trump's hotel and and exploded with fireworks, that's on purpose. They were rented from the same app, from the same place. They're both people went to the same fort. The truck left the state or the country, came back. It's almost too convenient how these things seem to line up and happen. And Agent Nosering over there telling us she can't even.
Oh, I like. Hold on. Whoa. Let's go back. Say that again. I'm sorry. That was just too good. I need to hear it twice.
I said Agent Nosering.
Yes, Nosering agent, FBI, DEI hire. Keep going.
She couldn't even pronounce her sentences with less of grammatical errors.
But here's the thing. I know I have a low bar here. I don't give a crap about that. I give a crap about the fact that she stared at all of us and she said to all of us a bold-faced lie. Now, either you're an idiot or you're deliberately lying to the American people when you say this.
This is not a terrorist event. What it is right now is their improvised explosive devices that was found, and we are working on confirming if it's a viable device or not.
While giving a press conference about a terrorist attack.
All lies. It's incredible the fact that the same agency who has been lying to us for years and years and years about the laptop and everything else expects us to believe that these two things are not connected or that he acted alone. The fact that they're trying to say that he acted alone, that is preposterous. Who did he see over the border? How did he get everything?
Let me say this. There's a good chance he acted alone. I want to be clear, okay? And I know several people in law enforcement in Houston, that's where I live, who have said they think there's a very good chance he acted alone in the attack, okay? With that being said, I just want whatever the truth is to come out, and I don't trust the FBI because of exactly what you just described. This is the same FBI that said that Hunter Biden's laptop was not real when, in fact, they knew it was real, had authenticated it, and said it was user-generated from him. This is the same FBI that raided Donald Trump's home in Mar-a-Lago. This is the same FBI who had the director who laughed and mocked about trying to entrap General Flynn to then turn on Donald Trump when he was new to the White House. Donald Trump knew, General Flynn knew, in the Situation Room, and then laughed about it, James Comey, on stage, saying they were in essence too stupid, a.k.a. too trusting of their government, and didn't have a lawyer in the room when we questioned them.
It's absolutely sad. And if I may end on this point, there's video. They said they were going to infiltrate us from within. I am terrified that's exactly what they have done. Started small, locally, and they have infiltrated all the way up to the highest levels of our government. They said they were going to do this. I fear it's not over, but I pray it is, and I pray for our entire country, for our inauguration, and Trump and Kash Patel cannot get here fast enough.
Amen to that. And by the way, for everybody listening right now, I put up that video, the newest one. You can go see it if you're on X at Ben Ferguson Show, the same video you're talking about. And the question was, right after a terrorist attack in New York City last night, should we deport every person who's not American who is supporting or marching for terrorists? 1-877-381-3811. 1-877-381-3811. Let me go to Charles in Florida, line 2. Welcome. You're on the Mark Levin Show. Hi.
Thank you very much, Ben, for taking my call. Can you hear me?
I can hear you just fine. Go ahead.
Okay. With the FBI spokesman, I think in the beginning they tried to cover it up, and then eventually they came clean with it. But because the terrorist attack, for the terrorist attack is because on the terror watch list they have been. I'm sorry. I'm just nervous here.
That's all right. Don't be nervous. Go ahead with your main point.
Okay. There are law-abiding citizens on the terror watch list, and most of the resources are being diverted to that. Like myself, like Tulsi Gabbard is on the terror watch list and being targeted. I am also.
Look, I think what's happened with the FBI is the FBI has been weaponized to go after and come after conservatives. I don't know about you, but you're talking about Tulsi Gabbard. I understand that aspect of the story, and I can agree with you on that. What I do know is the FBI has now been weaponized by the left to go after the right. That is not the job of the FBI. The FBI's job is to protect the American people from terrorists, from cartels, from drugs. The list goes on and on. 1-877-381-3811, 1-877-381-3811. I want to get more of your phone calls in here. Much more coming up on the Mark Levin Show. Ben Ferguson filling in right after this.
Mark Levin.
All right, welcome back. It is the Mark Levin Show. Ben Ferguson with you. We've got some breaking news that a 40-year-old man apparently was arrested in Idaho for planting an IED on a train car. He was charged with possession of a destructive device after attempting to ignite it. This is what we are being told right now. We will keep you updated on that one. Now, I started the show earlier with all this breaking news, but there is the woke, just DEI BS of corporate America that I'm so sick of, and I'm going to call it out every time I see it. Did you see the start of the Allstate bowl game? Did you see this? They're the telesponsor of it. According to Allstate, plowing through a crowd and killing 15 people is just a, quote, imperfection. How do we know this? This was the message at the start of the game if you're watching on TV. And this is what wokeness does to smart people.
Welcome to the Allstate Sugar Bowl. Wednesday, tragedy struck the New Orleans community. Our prayers are with the victims and their families. We also need to be stronger together by overcoming an addiction to divisiveness and negativity. Join Allstate working in local communities all across America to amplify the positive, increase trust, and accept people's imperfections and differences. Together, we win.
There you go. Enjoy the game, folks. Enjoy the game. And now we'll play for you football because we're going to reduce a terrorist attack to an imperfection of people, and we should just embrace one another with kumbaya. It was the president and the CEO of Allstate. If your insurance is with them, you get to decide if you want your money going to people like this. Because according to Allstate, plowing through a crowd and killing 15 people is just a quote-unquote imperfection. I just shared that video for you on X. You can follow me at Ben Ferguson Show on X. Now, something else I also want to put on your radar screen. This is a 3-hour show, and I feel like I just got started. We now have FBI officials at another briefing in New Orleans saying that the terrorists posted on Facebook that he had pledged allegiance to ISIS before last summer. So what was the FBI doing when this guy's out there like, hey, I'm a member of ISIS? They were going after PTA parents for the past 4 years. They were going after conservatives that may have been in D.C. on January the 6th. They were raiding Donald Trump's home in Mar-a-Lago, and they were celebrating trans and diversity and equity and inclusion in their hiring practices, not hiring the best people for the job, but hiring a pie that was filled with inclusivity and trans and gay and bisexual and everything that would make it feel kumbaya. This is what the FBI official said in this second update.
Platform proclaiming his support for ISIS. There were 5 videos posted on Jabbar's Facebook account, which are time-stamped beginning at 1:29 a.m. and the last at 3:02 a.m. In the first video, Jabbar explains he originally planned to harm his family and friends, but was concerned the news headlines would not focus on the, quote, war between the believers and the disbelievers, end quote. Additionally, he stated he had joined ISIS before this summer. He also provided a will and testament. FBI and ATF. FBI. We have a couple different scenes at the location. We have released the scene at Bourbon Street. That scene has been released. We also have a scene off of Mandeville address where we're currently searching.
This is your FBI, folks. You've got evidence that the FBI is chronically lowering its standard, and the evidence is everywhere. You look at the special agent in charge, Alethea Duncan, who initially said that the terror attack was not being considered a terrorist attack. She was wearing, by the way, a prohibited, apparently, facial piercing, a nose ring. Agent Nose Ring, as many are calling her now. FBI agents, I thought were supposed to be, like the rule followers, especially those in leadership roles. Nah, we're going to flaunt those rules in the face on national television. It's just another example of the decline of the agency. This is what happens when you get DEI infiltrating government. So let's just recap real quick where we are as a country. We've got Allstate saying plowing through a crowd and killing 15 people is just an imperfection and we should embrace each other's imperfections. We've got an FBI that stared at us in the face after they knew an ISIS flag was on the car of the man who killed people in New Orleans and told us it wasn't a terrorist attack. We've got a president of the United States of America that's more focused on giving a medal to Liz Cheney after she has tampered with a witness in the January 6th insurrection committee. And we've got a president that's coming into office with an objective to fundamentally reform the FBI and the DOJ. Mr. Producer, how much time do I have left? I'm going to end with this. And I want to end with it because I think it's an important thing to end with. Ask yourself this question. Just how much damage has Joe Biden and the Biden administration, the Democratic Party, and Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer done to this country? And I'm not talking about economically. I'm talking about to our safety and national security. Ask yourself the question, how much damage have they done? Ask yourself this question. How many people do you think probably need to be fired just to get us back to not being a country run by stupid and incompetent bureaucrats? I'm going to go out on a limb and say it's a hell of a lot more than we thought even before yesterday. Follow me on social, Ben Ferguson. Grab my podcast, the Ben Ferguson Podcast. See you back here soon.